So today I'm going to talk about how to animate a run. And what we're trying to do is, like the walk cycle, we're trying to create a cycle, an endless loop, something that we can cycle endlessly, that works, that is smooth, that is seamless, that has weight, that feels believable, and works. And as with animating a walk, we want to start with real life. We want to study live action. And the first question we want to ask is, how is a run different from a walk? And one of the best places to go and find an answer to this question is Muybridge, Edward Muybridge, who you're already familiar with from watching the other videos, the 19th century English photographer who lived in California and pioneered stop motion photography. And his material is still incredibly useful today. And you can see here from this run cycle of this man running that there is a point when both feet leave the ground, and you can see that point is here in this in these photographs, and that's the key difference between a walk and a run. A run is faster than a walk, and at some point in the cycle, both feet will be off the ground. So you can see that here in this this annotated version of Muybridge's photographs, I've indicated here where the feet are leaving the ground during the course of the cycle. So that's the big difference. Speed and in the air. Now the main positions of a run, and this is taken from the Animator's survival kit, are the same as the walk, which is to say you have the contact position here, the left leg is contacting, the down or squash position where that leg is taking the weight, and then the up or the passing position where the opposing leg passes the leg that's bearing the weight, then the up position as we go high up in the air, and then again the contact here, in this case the right foot contact. So the main positions are going to be the same. So in a way, once you've satisfactorily animated a walk, you can go on in theory to do a run without too much difficulty. Here's a run taken from the Iron Giant. This is done by the incredibly talented Mike Wing, an excellent animator. And you can see here that I've annotated everything. Left foot passing, high point or up, left foot contact, squash. I find it incredibly important when I'm making thumbnails to annotate them successfully so that I know exactly what's happening just by looking at it. You know, right foot contact, squash here at 10. When you're making thumbnails, when you're copying other people's thumbnails, and I recommend you copy the handout from this week, it's very important that you add the timing and you also write down what's going on, because you will forget. And the whole point of thumbnails is that they are a clear roadmap of where you want to go. So to begin, we want to start with a basic walk cycle and then adapt it. So you've got the contact position here at frame 1, the down position, then the passing, the up, and the contact. This is a walk. The difference between the run is we're off the ground here at frame 6. So here during the walk, during the passing position, or rather during the up position, or very, very near the up position, shortly after it, this right foot is still on the ground. But here in the run, they're up in the air. That's the big fundamental difference. Now we can adjust it further and make it more extreme. We can add a lean in the body, so the lean leaves forward. If you consider a walk, people tend to be quite upright, but consider the run, people tend to be leaning forward. Also, there's going to be a lot more swing in the arms, and there's going to be more up and down. So here in the walk, there's relatively little up and down in the body, but here in the run, there's going to be quite a lot. So in general, it's a more extreme form of locomotion. And here we are, even more exaggerated, lots of swing in the upper arms, and lots of exaggerated motion in these legs. So this is a sort of normal run, a 6-frame run cycle using Bugs Bunny. And if a standard walk is on a 12-frame cycle, that's march time, a run will be the same, only it's double march time. So if you wanted to whistle Colonel Bogey while doing a run, you'd have to go like that. It would have to be really, really fast. Or in fact, it would basically be 2 steps per single march. So a runner should travel at twice the speed of a walker. We could do fast runs, of course, though. Here's a fast run on 5s using Bugs Bunny. He's leaning forward now, and his ears are kind of flowing behind him. Much bigger steps, longer steps, more of a stretch in the body. Here's a squirrel that I did for the Royal Parks in London for their marathon, and you can see that the body is leaning forward there heavily. This is back to Mike's run from the Iron Giant. Body again leaning forward, head kind of tilting back in a slightly childlike way. Hair is swept back, the mouth is open, and there's a kind of sense of urgency there in his eyeballs, or in his eye expression. So there's various ways you can get that sense of urgency in a walk. Here's another fast run, and this is from the Timing and Animation book, which is a good book. Actually, no, sorry, I think I have that wrong. I think this is from the Preston Blair book on animation, which is another very good book on animation. Highly recommended. And here's an even more extreme run taken from the Preston Blair book. Very, very extreme. There's lots of good stuff in the Preston Blair book, by the way, on animation was for many, many years the only good book out there on animation. It's still very, very good, and still very well worth having in your library. Here's a super fast run, a kind of a mad scramble on 3s. This is about as fast as we can go. You'd have to have some blurring here to make this work. You'd have to turn on motion blur and Maya. And in drawn animation, we have to add sort of smear lines. You can't really do this on a cycle because the eye will start to pick out the individual poses. But this is about as fast as you can go. You cannot have a 2-frame cycle. You would have to actually sort of animate a kind of blur like here in the Roadrunner. 2-frame cycle doesn't work because you can't tell if the legs are moving forwards or backwards. You need a minimum of 3 frames in order to create the illusion of motion. So how much character can we get in a run? The answer is quite a bit. Here's an angry run by the veteran Disney animator Cliff Nordberg. You can see by the sort of the big down positions on his feet there that this is an angry guy, and it's also helped by the facial expression here. He looks kind of angry. So just like in a walk, you can get personality into a run as well. Here's a 6-frame cycle with a chipmunk, kind of a hop here, a sort of hopping run cycle. Here's another variation on a run. This is a chipmunk sort of pushing against some kind of a heavy object. But we're going to do a very simplified run, and we're going to do a 9-frame run. That's kind of a slow run. But we're going to do it because it's relatively easy to control the timing on this one. And so we're going to start with Monty. We'll use a nice simple figure or another figure, simple bot, something like that. But Monty is the character I like to start with because it's a really great little rig. And here's our contact position at frame 1, then down at frame 4, the squash, up at frame 7, contact at frame 10. This is about as simple as we can make it. Now we will of course have to have some breakdown positions here, 5 and 6, where we see that leg pushing off the ground, that right leg. But this gives you a simplified basis for the run cycle. 1, 4, 7, 10. 13, 16, 19, and we're back to the start. So this gives us basically 6 positions that we have to animate in order to make it work. Now, we're going to have the character run on the spot this time, not advancing across the screen. That means you have to animate the feet moving underneath the body, and the body will be static, just like if we were running on a treadmill at the gym, like this lady here. So here's our first position. Contact at frame 1, right foot contact, and when you copy out the thumbnails, make sure to write this out so that you know where you're going. Then frame 4 is the right foot squash position. Frame 7 is the up position. That's actually the left foot passing now. And then frame 10, the left foot is contacting. Frame 13, the left foot is the squash position. And then 16, we're up in the air again. And then 19, back to frame 1, right foot contact. So the total cycle with 2 feet, 2 strides is 18 frames. or 9 frames per stride. And here it is again. You can see the whole cycle. If you get the up and down positions right on a run, that's half the battle. The main thing is to get the up and down stuff working. We can also try variations on it. You could try grabbing, once you've animated it, grabbing all your curves in the graph editor and using the scale tool to scale it down to make a fast 6-frame run, or even a super fast 4-frame run. We could also try variations where we make Monty feel angry, change his facial expressions, and have a very hard slam on the foot as it comes down. Very snappy timing there. We could do a frightened run where Monty is looking frightened and maybe his head is kind of tilted backwards and he's looking worried. So there are all kinds of variations you could do on the run if you wanted to. And I'll leave it to you to decide how much time you've got to explore variations. The second thing to do once you've done the Monty run, though, is to do a human run. And this is more complicated because we have to add arms and legs. And as with the walk, the arms will counteract the animation of the feet. So here, where the right foot is contacting, the left arm will be forward. There at frame 10, where the left foot is contacting, the right arm will be forward. And so the formula is the same roughly as in a walk, but it is more complicated, and we need to get some flexibility in the body as well. So you will find the animation with the human, and I suggest you use a character like Heavy or something like that to be a little more complicated than animating with Monty. But it's always good to start with Monty because that gets the basics of it, and you know you'll have something working but at the end of the day. So good luck with that. Go on to watch the technical videos introducing the rigs, and also the tutorials where I demonstrate how to do this in practice.